Tom Harris. As I have at the other meetings here, I'd like to ask Mr. Clark not to participate in the discussion, recuse himself.
From what discussion? He doesn't even know.
No, if we do get into this on this issue, because he was one of the ones that signed a complaint against me, and I don't think that he should be part of the decision process. Judge, jury, executioner, when he files a complaint. And I think that should be accorded to anybody when they're involved with a complaint from some commission member.
So Tom, if I'm driving down the road and I see an RV in your front yard, and I say, you know what, I'm not sure that that guy can have that in the front yard, but you know, life goes on, so I leave it alone, and I drive by again and again and again and again, okay? And then eventually I say, you know what, that really is an eyesore, and the regulation was specifically put in place so it wouldn't be. Am I not allowed to call the zoning office and say, go check it out, see if it's a possible violation? Am I not allowed to do that?
You're certainly allowed to, but I don't believe you should decide on it in a commissioner capacity.
Right? We could argue the semantics of that, and I'll tell you how, and it's very simple. When did you sign that letter while seated as a commissioner?
Yes.
In the
no,
table?
not here, no.
Well, then you weren't a commissioner.
Right.
End of story. We're only, that's the whole purpose of being seated, unseated, and adjourned, is that he's not a commissioner unless we're meeting as a commissioner. And I'm not the chairman unless it's Tuesday night. So he wasn't a commissioner when he signed the letter.
Okay, I don't agree with it. But
go look up statute.
Okay. Anyhow,
senators are not senators unless they're seated in the Senate.
Or when they're written about in the press.
Just the way government works.
Okay, anyhow, going on to this lengthy process, these letters came out, and I will agree with what Art said about the notice of possible violation. I did catch that omission in the minutes, and would
right.
like that in there.
Nope, I appreciate it.
This thing has dragged on and on and on, and I don't understand why it's taking so long. I didn't think it was that difficult. Back on the 12th of October, when Sean Murphy had asked you how the regulation could be removed, modified, or repealed, you explained the process in which a petition is made to the Zoning Commission to change regulation. A public hearing is held, or there's the billboard across from the charcoal chef. And then he goes on, because the restrictions on political signs contained in section 7.5.10.1 are greater than those applicable to commercial signs, I believe there's a significant risk that those restrictions will be found to constitute an unconstitutional restriction on free speech. And that's something that I've maintained right from the beginning.
Right.
You asked Art for lawyer's opinion and whatnot.
Yep.
Back in the first October meeting that was in the annex, it was relatively well attended. Lou DeLuca told you what had happened at different towns around the state, a few of them where this had occurred before. I'm not trying to cost my town money, but I am trying to defend not just my constitutional rights, but yours and everybody else that resides within this community.
The issue that the Commission has in front of it right now is to address the potential or the risk that the attorney says is out there. It's a risk. He didn't come down black and white saying you're in violation.
Correct.
Correct, right? So now the Commission can do, in my opinion, one of three things. Okay? Or fourth would be do nothing. But do one of three things. Make the political sign regulation the same as every other sign regulation. Make every other sign regulation the same as the political sign regulation, or something in between. So in other words, if there is a commercial sign that is bigger than a political sign, and that represents a potential for discrimination, you can make the political sign regulation bigger, but you could also make the commercial sign smaller.
And what would you do with a larger commercial sign?
Or you could say, well, you know what, somewhere in the middle of this meets the underlying premise of the zoning regulation to keep the town, in this case, free of the clutter of signs and the proliferation of signs and the uncontrolled distribution of signs. So there's three things you could do. It doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be get rid of the regulation. It doesn't have to be do nothing. It could be, as I say, make the political signs bigger, or make the commercial signs smaller, or some sort of compromise. We're not there yet.
What would the solution there be to the pre-existing larger commercial signs?
Nothing. But
Would they be forced to make it
there would be
smaller?
grandfather. Everything in this book is grandfathered except building code.
Okay.
Okay? So that essentially, if the sign regulation in here would be, in other words, if you had a sign on your property that suddenly became non-conforming, you're grandfathered up until the time you want to change it. So the answer is nothing would happen. But that's three ways of addressing this particular issue. That's where we are. That's where we've been for months, trying to make sure that when we do this, the contingency within the community that believes that there is, I'm going to paraphrase what you guys are saying, any amount of control is wrong for political science. Political speech is free speech, end of story, right? And those people in the town who think, believe, and tell me, and I had dinner in Carlitos tonight with two people who agree with me, absolutely, there needs to be a control of signs in this town. Political signs are no different from any other sign. All right? So there was a contingency out there that does not agree. So up to us to balance these two sides, come up with something that at least goes in part to satisfying, right, your need, but then the needs of the other people in town who do not want to see a completely hands-off approach to political science.
Right, because as Mr. Henderson said, once again, going back to the early October meeting, he's a Republican, his wife's a Democrat. You know, how do they, on their own property, have the rights to basically promote all the candidates that each individual
Tom, I'm not
believes
saying
in?
that this is perfect.
That's what we are guaranteed
Now,
by the
hopefully
Constitution.
during the public hearing process, you'll stand up and say exactly that. And then we'll all hear it.
Well, I'd love to get there because I'll also on December 14th, Mr. McNally noted that he'd submitted the application for a zone change regarding political signs, and Chairman Overton noted that the process will take about 3 months to complete. And I'd like to do something to bring this to its conclusion, because this is ridiculous that it's still going on.
I agree.
I mean, 3 months was a figure that was mentioned over and again. I'm not holding you right to it, but, you know, we're in July. The next meeting's August.
Very reasonable. Absolutely.
So how do we get from here to conclusion?
We need a draft of these regulations that this commission can approve to go to public hearing.
Well,
The next step,
when are we going to get there?
I guess, is September.
Why
Yes.
September when it was supposed to take 3 months?
Because what we have done isn't to take only the sign regulation through the public hearing process. We had a whole slew, a whole list of things pending approval. We added them together. We have the pending aquifer protection model regulations the state sent to us. We've got to take those to public hearing. We're going to take it all to public hearing at the same time.
I can appreciate that, but frankly, I don't care. You told us back in October and November that
Yep.
it was going to take 3 months.
I thought it did.
And now you're talking that it's going to take 11, 12 months?
Probably. And I
And
don't apologize for it.
that's just ludicrous, though.
Well, I
And
don't
you
think
people
it-
in the interim, you have halved the frequency of your meetings.
Yes.
So you're basically saying that the public doesn't matter.
The frequency of the meetings, Tom, look at the agenda.
I
There's
understand
nothing
the
on it. Why
agenda.
would I meet twice a month when there's nothing on the agenda?
Why can't you bring this to conclusion?
We have all of the regulations that need to go before the public in one document.
At this
I'm
rate, we're
guessing September.
going to be triple to quadruple what your original estimate was.
I'm not in so much of a hurry that I'm prepared to get this wrong.
I don't want it wrong.
I'm glad
I
to
would
hear
like
that.
attention given to it.
I think a lot of attention was given to it.
And I think we could start with reading the Constitution and the First Amendment.
Okay?
And I would like you to put that on the agenda.
You can ask.
I'm asking.
I'm not going to put it on the agenda.
You, when you were sworn in, were
Yep.
sworn in to uphold the law.
Yep.
The Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
And in as much as I
And you're
don't
not
have
going to uphold it?
Code of Federal Regulations here and the state statutes, which grant us the power to do what we do, I'm not going to read those onto the agenda either. No.
Very interesting stance from a public official. Thank you.
Okay, Tom. Anybody else? I'm sorry you had to listen to